All right, thank you for joining me on this video. So this video is simply letting you in on the conversation of me mentoring a friend. So I get asked a lot, or I get emails, DMs, phone calls. How do I get into the fire service? Or my son is interested in becoming a firefighter. What do they need to do? Would you mind talking to them? So that is what I'm letting you in on today. This is just a conversation of me mentoring and helping somebody that is interested in becoming a firefighter and getting into the fire service. And I hope that it helps you out. And please share it with somebody that's trying to become a firefighter. Thank you for checking it out, and be sure to like the video and check out more of my resources that'll help prepare you physically at ventureathlete.com or any of my prep and defend resources. Thanks.
So when someone asks me to help mentor them on what they need to do to get a job in the fire service, the conversation usually goes something like this. They'll ask me and let me know, hey, I know somebody that wants to be a firefighter. Can I have them contact you? And I'll say, right on. I'd love to help out. So I'll get with them and I'll say, all right then, what are your questions? And question number one, what I usually get most of the time is this: what do I need to do? And my answer is to follow and focus on these three things. So go ahead and listen up. Like, there's the education side of things. That's the first category. And then there's a work experience area. And this is all like to build a resume, basically, because just like any job, it doesn't matter if it's the fire department or not. But when you're going against other people that are going for the same job, they compare resumes and you're trying to build your resume. And so, like I said, so you're going to like education's one part of it, work experience is another part. And then another part that really doesn't go on your resume, but it's key, is the physical fitness part. And it sounds like you like to work out and things, but the physical fitness part is important because there's still going to be always a physical agility test for any fire department. They have to be physical, and the word that departments use is arduous. You have to qualify for like arduous work. So arduous. So there's always going to be a physical test. So that's just like three categories of things that I would tell you like to be well rounded in. And so you're going to have to just kind of, like, I'm gonna tell you in each category things that they're looking for, and then you'll have to kind of break down your own, like, which goals you're gonna try to get done first, and kind of come up with a plan by talking to other people. But bottom line, like the fire department jobs, for the minimum standards, just about all of them, and you can jot these ones down, are it'll probably start with EMT. That would probably be the number one first thing that you have to knock out. So you could take that at the junior college. They even do it in summer. It's a little more condensed. It is tough to get into because a lot of people are trying to get it done. So you need to register early for those. But out there in the Antelope Valley, there is like University of Antelope Valley has ones, like you have to pay money. It's not as cheap as the going to the junior college, but you could find like private ones that'll, you can get it done quicker, but you have to pay, or you just wait to get it done at the JC. So, and the reason EMT, that's like a prerequisite for a lot of the departments that they require. So, first one would be EMT. That you're going to like look into that. And even if you don't get into it this semester, but have it on your radar and have it on your plan, because there's a ton of departments, including LA County, now that you can't even apply unless you have your EMT already done. So that's going to be probably one of the first things that would hold you back for applying to a lot of places. So so in the education, there's EMT, and then there's fire science classes, and you could take those at different junior colleges. But there's fire technology classes, and if you take enough of them, through talking with a counselor, they'll make sure you're taking the right general ed classes, and then you'll get a fire science degree, fire technology degree, an associate degree or AS degree in fire science. And that's going to take a couple years to knock out, to get that done. But that's like, instead of just taking random classes, at least if you're taking classes that are working towards something, you'll have that. And then another part on the education, another step would be depending when you start applying to fire departments, you're going to see what they require. So some of them require EMT, and then some of them require they want you to already have some firefighter training. And what that training is a Firefighter One Academy. Have you ever heard of that? No. So once you have enough so if you're working on your associate's degree, you're gonna be getting most of the classes, but once you have a certain number of fire science classes completed, you can apply to these fire academies. Um, and Rio Hondo has one. That's the one that I went to. It's out in like the Whittier area. Um, there's Allen Hancock a little farther north. Oxnard Fire Academy is in Ventura County. But again, that's not something you can do right away. You have to see what they require. So you would need to look and say you wanted to go to Oxnard College Fire Academy, then you would look on their website, see what the requirements are, and then it kind of guides you like, okay, I'm already working on that as part of my associate's degree, or maybe it'll show you some classes you need to take. But what that academy will do is, and you can jot this down, it will give you your firefighter one certificate. And so some departments require a firefighter one certificate to apply, that's mostly the smaller departments that don't run these huge training academies to train you. They expect you to already show up trained. So a lot of the smaller departments, they want you to already be EMT and have gone to a fire academy, and then they'll put you through a shorter academy just to teach you their way of doing things. So you learn their department. But so that's like a couple years of stuff right there, like the EMT, that's a semester long class. It's going to take you 2 years to knock out your associate's degree in fire science. And I did that while working full time. I was working like Walmart and other jobs. Most of the fire science classes are available at night, and the night classes are kind of cool because unlike a regular class that you have to take, 3 days a week for 1 hour each day, like, instead of going 1 hour Monday, 1 hour Wednesday, 1 hour Friday, you just go for 1 session, it's supposed to be 3 hours on, like, a Monday, and it's done for the week, so you can get more classes done through the week if you're taking night classes. If you're working full time, that's probably gonna be the option for you, would be, like, doing it at night. Um, and a lot of times they don't go the full 3 hours, but it's easier to kind of knock it out that way. That's a consideration when it comes to school. And then, um, like I said, that's like a 2 year program to get your associate's degree, and then your fire academy. That's usually like a 3 month kind of academy, 3 to 4 months. Um, and you have to look and see there's year-long ones that you can do that spread it out over a year, or you can just knock it out, do it full time. Especially if you're still living at home and you have a support structure because you're not going to be able to work during that. But again, you get that firefighter one certificate that'll allow you to apply all these other places. So, and then of course, I don't know how into school you would be, but that's kind of like the minimum requirements that you would need for most departments. If you had those things, that'll let you apply, and then the one more thing that you would need, and I got hired before I did this one, but it was the next step, is your paramedic. So if you're able to get your paramedic license, that is a lot harder to get. So the amount of people that have it, is very few. So when people are hiring paramedics, there's not a lot of candidates there. There's a lot more people that have gone to a fire academy than have gone to paramedic school, because to become a paramedic, you have to be working as an EMT for 6 months, usually, on an ambulance or something where you're employed as an EMT. And then you apply to paramedic school, and that's like a 6 month full time program, and again, there's private ones you can do through colleges. University of U of AV has one out in North Los Angeles County. There's several ones you can do through colleges and stuff as well. But you could, you could skip the associate's degree and fire academy if the places you're applying don't really require an academy, but they want you to be paramedic. So you could get your EMT, go get a job as an EMT, work for 6 months, and then you can pay your way to go to paramedic school. And it's not cheap though. It's pretty expensive, but it's like going to a trade school or anything else. You pay the money, and then you're able, to apply to all those jobs. And it usually happen pretty quickly once people are paramedic. So those are education options right there. And then, that's going to go on your resume. And a lot of those, like I said, those will even let you apply. You have to have those certificates to even apply a lot of times. Um, I would sign up to, if you don't already, follow on Instagram, or go to their website. Is the Perfect Firefighter is a website where they put out any jobs, anybody that's hiring, and then you just start taking tests. Like anybody up and down the state that you want to practice, you got to practice taking tests and see what it's like. You never know, you could get hired. So you just got to start practicing. You start, even if you don't have a good resume, if they let you apply and then you go take the test. So Perfect Firefighter candidate is one. And then there's another thing to follow, like on Instagram, would be the Future Firefighter, and they put out anytime there's anybody hiring, they'll post it, and then you go on that city's website and look and see what the requirements are and what you have to do to apply. But if you follow those, it'll start to guide you on when you have to start looking at those to see like what do they require, and then that'll tell you what they require, how much they pay, and all that kind of stuff. If it's part-time, if it's full-time. So those are things that are going to kind of guide you on the education. You'll kind of figure out what your priorities are. And then in the next category on work experience, for me, this was something I wanted to be well-rounded. I just didn't want to go into an interview and kind of they're like, oh, this guy's just this, he just goes to classes all the time. I wanted to learn and have like work ethic too. And because it is a physically demanding job, it's not just you just show up with a certificate and you're in the club. Like it's time to go to work, right? When the bell goes off. So to see what it's like in the culture, you should work experience. You need to find something that's involved with the fire service. Um, you can talk to them on your interview about being involved with your community through your church. Those are things that you want to keep track of and be involved with in your community, because the fire department is really big on community involvement and being a part of the community that you work in. So those are great things to kind of to do until you can get involved with a department. And then, so ways to get involved in work experience, like out where you live, find out about the Explore program, and that's free. And you get to go to the fire stations and you get to ride along, and they kind of train you, and you really get to see if if the job's all, if that's what you're going to be all about. Like you get to really test it out and see, instead of going to school for all these years and you're like, well, I never even been to a fire station, I don't even know what they do. So if you can do explorers, that's a great way. And then you're around all these firemen that can help point you in the right direction on the next thing, you should be doing, and what they did to get hired. And you'll hear, instead of just hearing one person's point of view, you get to hear all these point of views on what they did to get hired. But so that's like work experience. And then there's the paying kind of work experience. If you live out by the mountains, so there's tons of jobs. Like with the Forest Service, they hire seasonal employees for summer, and you're a firefighter for the summer, whether you're on an engine going on fires and doing hose lays and putting the fire out with water, or if you get on a hand crew, for like the hot shot kind of crews, or there's other crews that are not quite that like hot shot status, but they're on fires all the time. You can find out some job opportunities there. That's work experience. But you're gonna have to figure out, are you gonna knock out your school first? If it conflicts with, getting a job like in the summer, it might not work out for you, where you're like, well, I can't go to the school because they want me to start in April and my semester's not gonna be done. So you just got to kind of figure that out, how it's gonna work for you. For me, I just focused on knocking out the school stuff in 2 years, the EMT, the fire science, and then I did a fire academy, and then I went and took a job on a hot shot crew for 2 seasons, and then my 3rd season, I got hired on an engine for the Forest Service. Again, that was just seasonal, but it was more experience, and then, I got hired that winter. So, I had been testing, in the off season and all these other times, I've been trying to take exams, and it just took that long for me to kinda get a good enough resume to get hired. So there's that work experience. And then, like I mentioned before, if you're an EMT, you can work on an ambulance, you can get work experience going on calls. So, um, that's a real big part of the job is the EMS and knowing and learning that part, especially if you're planning on going to paramedic school, you're going to have work experience. They're gonna require that to apply. But I would recommend for sure, like a Forest Service or like an LA County paid camp crew, or, Cal Fire has paid camp crews now, but some kind of a paid crew job to, like, learn the work ethic side of things and how to really get in there and do these hard tasks and skills, and you get to learn the culture of, you know, doing that stuff, and it's real hard. You learn a lot about yourself and how to push yourself and be in these really tough situations, that are gonna help you for the rest of your career. So, those are a couple work experience things that anything that once you start practicing on these orals and as it gets closer, I can help you out with that as well, do some practice questions for you and that. And then all throughout it, like I mentioned, so the last part, physical fitness. Um, I understand like you probably like to work out, you got your own thing going, probably like in the garage gym, or I don't know if you go to a gym, but um when you take physical agility tests, you want to stand out. You want your resume to stand out when you apply. You want to stand out when you take an oral interview. And I remember when I was testing, I wanted to stand out on the physical agility. I mean, if you go there and you're like a top performer on a physical agility test, you kind of turn their head and they're like, who's this guy? Like he showed up ready to go. Um, and so you want to try to be able to push yourself to be able to not just pass like the minimum standard of a physical agility test, but to actually go out there and just crush it, and people notice you and they start asking, oh, hey, okay, what's his name? Okay, his application's in. Because I remember even testing for some departments where there was like 6 to 8 departments were using the same test. And then you go take this physical agility, and then, you know, um, people start asking about it, who's hiring first, who's gonna, they kind of they take notice. So definitely the physical fitness side, and, you wanna keep pushing hard. You wanna be like a top performer, like I said. That's how you should wanna be, right? You wanna be like you don't wanna just do minimum standard. Okay, what's the bare minimum I have to do to get this job? You're like, "No, I wanna, like, crush it," and I want 'cause, you want, like, a good reputation. You want people to look at you as a leader and to be able to lead. It's just, and it develops good habits for the whole rest of your career. So those are ways that I would say, help you be well-rounded. And, yeah, that interview process, is something that you just have to start practicing and taking tests. So for interviews, the only way to get better is practice. And then, another thing I'll tell you, another note to take down for, go to like Barnes and Noble or go to Amazon and order a firefighter preparation handbook or firefighter preparation tests. And it's basically the standardized kind of fire exams. It's like math and reading. It'll have like practice tests you could take. It'll kind of give you an idea. Every department has different ones. And nowadays there's a lot of kind of psychological, almost like social profiling type questions that they ask, and you just kinda gotta work your way through those and, answer honestly, but think about what they're looking for. The so that's like a good resource, but really it's gonna come from, like I said, looking at what they require and taking some practice tests, and then on the motivation side, so this is like kind of a career path. It usually takes like 4 to 5 years to kinda knock all these things out that I just told you about. I mean, you could certainly get hired before that, but in 5 years, you can do all of these. You can have your associate's degree, your EMT, been working on a hotshot crew, maybe even get your paramedic done. You could have all these things done and be an outstanding candidate for any exam. It'll take you like 5 years if you're knocking these things out, which is not bad. And um, but to stay motivated, you're gonna have to, like I said, try to find maybe the explorers or some of these other groups. You'll meet people at the college if you're taking fire science class that are doing the same thing, but stay like tied in with those groups of people. You guys will go take tests together, and you guys will motivate each other. And explorers is a huge one because you get to ride along. A lot of the people I see that fall off and kind of give up, they never really even got to do a ride along. But then I talk to people And just last week on the podcast that I was doing, and you should check out that episode with Kevin Welsh. It was the one I just released this week, but he just talks about him not quitting. You know, he was already married, and it was a huge commitment for them to do all these things I just listed and told you about. You know, when he's already married and not just you know, staying at home and single, but it was like him doing a ride along really helped solidify that that's what he wanted to do and kind of like keep the passion going. So that's just something to consider, you know, because, you know, it's a lot of stuff and you can get discouraged at times, um, but I do really recommend listening to that one, if you haven't yet, because that one, people have gave us feedback on that one already. That's really encouraged them because they were getting discouraged, not getting hired, but it was just really good. So check that one out. And but that's another thing too is like, you know, you can listen to audiobooks that'll help you. You can listen to podcasts that are about like oral interviews and questions. There's other ones out there. But yeah, listen to that one this week from Kevin Welsh. I think it'll give you real good. It's like a lot of the stuff we talked about, but it's kind of his story. Question number 2. Do you think I should start to work on my education first? So I do. I recommend getting the education done first if you can while you still have the support of your family, being at home, because if you're going to school full time, it's tougher to work, right? You know, might be working and you can go to school at night, but some of those other ones like going to paramedic school or going to a fire academy, you can't work during that. And so that can be really tough. And then another thing is I've seen a lot where people they get hired on a hand crew or something first and they get hired on a hand crew and they're making good money and they just don't have time to go to school so they never do. And you know, I saw people even on the crews that I was running, their paid crews, they got hired when they were 18 and they'd been doing a great job for 5 years, but in those 5 years, they'd never got a single college class done in 5 years. Whereas somebody who was out doing the school who didn't get that job right away, maybe they went out, did a fire academy, got their fire science degree, got their EMT, you know, they were just checking boxes and getting stuff done, and then they still went and got that job on a crew or something. Because when you let's just say like that job of working on a crew, if you've done it for 2 seasons or if you've done it for 5, it kinda takes up the same amount on a resume, really. Like, you're listing the same things. It's the same kind of a box on the resume. It doesn't really buy you a whole lot. So, work experience you can get, if you're going to work on a crew or something where you start making good money, you just get kinda used to that, and it's hard to stop that and shut it down to go back to school. So whatever school you kinda have done when you go and start working, a lot of people don't ever finish it, you know, so that's just something to consider. But if you're really diligent, you know, you could work a couple seasons and then do the school later, but like I said, you have to have it in mind that you're like, "Okay, now I'm gonna go to school and I'm not gonna make any money." Maybe you're not living at home anymore, you know, just some things to think about. Question number 3. How should I be working out or training physically? Yeah, I mean, in me, that's kind of my well, now that you follow me on, Instagram, you know, check out the links that I have. So for the last 3, 4 years, I've kind of been doing that as a side job, like building programs and talking about what I think is important, you know? So there's like I have like a ton of YouTube videos too, that'll give you at least like my perspective on a lot of that. And my perspective is, you know, just push yourself hard on a regular basis, you know, that the thing of having a good routine and a good work ethic. But then my personal perspective, like once you're beyond that and you're actually working out, like you're asking me what's the best way, in my opinion, I take a whole year and I look at it like it's a professional sports season. And if I'm trying to peak for the summer for fire season, so I'll spend like have you ever done any workout training cycles, like a 3-month training cycle or anything like that? Yeah, sort of. Okay, so like what I the way I like to do it and what works for me working in the job already, and you could certainly do it as a student, but I like to in the fall, I'll do a 3-month cycle of strength, like just focusing on whatever strength you would like to do. I do one that I have a program. I have it on a program and it's on an app and stuff, but I'll spend 3 months where the focus is gaining strength, and then I'll spend 3 months where the focus is, like, now more power development, kinda more CrossFit style, kind of, powerful, like power cleans and jerks and that kind. And then after that, it's kind of getting close to summertime, and I wanted to be ready, and I wanted the guys to be ready. So I would do 3 months of we're still lifting weights, we're still doing like kettlebell stuff and still kind of that cross training. A lot of people just call it CrossFit, but this is not CrossFit because we actually have a plan, and it's not random, so it's planned out like a strength and conditioning program. But those 3 months before summer are a little more endurance. We're running farther. We're working out a little bit longer. We're going lighter so that we can just work for hours and hours and hours like we do in the, wild land on brush fires and forest fires. And then 3 months of summer, number 1, we're probably too busy to work out, or people go on vacations, or it's just hotter. But for 3 months of summer, kind of back off on the weight and do a lot more body weight, a lot more kettlebell kind of stuff. And then even though we back off on the weight, it's like really challenging still, because we're trying to like learn some of those skills, like, one leg pistol squats and handstand push-ups, and even those body weight, you can still make it really challenging. But for me, I like to follow a program. And so I would definitely recommend to you like a strength and conditioning, like actual, like do a program, like a strength program that has conditioning, but you can't do it forever for years because then you're not going to be a very good endurance person, right? So that's kind of how I phase it throughout the year. And then like I said, that's kind of what I do. I have a program and I post some stuff on it. You can see some of the workouts, and you can follow it on there, like on my like highlights on there. I have some workouts. I have like I think a whole month. I have a whole month that you can just look at by clicking through the highlights on my Instagram. But that's what I do. I have a whole, like, people work out on our program, and it's like 25 bucks a month, and then they follow it throughout the whole year, and so that's kind of like my other passion too, though, right? Is like I'm real into the fitness side, and so I kind of developed this whole thing. But that's kind of the why of it. But if you're doing like cross training, strength training, CrossFit, you're going to be very well prepared, for it. You just got to, be careful, to stay healthy, And unfortunately for me, I just broke my leg wakeboarding, but I've been very lucky, not getting injured on the job or even working out and things like that. So, you want to be well rounded there too. Like we were talking about on the other things on the workouts, you want to be strong, but you want to be kind of fast, and you want to be able. The bottom line, though, the most important is to be able to outwork anybody, and just keep working for long periods of time. When other people have to stop, you don't have to stop, and it takes just conditioning, just kind of. But that's another thing that's kind of, I remember, like, being your age, it kind of turned me on about the fire department was the fitness part. It's like, well, I kind of like working out and pushing myself, and you get to get paid to work out on duty and do these hard physical things. So that's kind of a cool thing about the job. But yeah, you could check, like I said, on my stuff. I have a ton of resources on there, and then you'll see like a link to my YouTube channel. There's a whole bunch of videos on there of like, even some of the gear that I use that I recommend, and there's workout stuff, and, um, teaching some stuff on strength and conditioning. And that's what I'm really like. I just started the podcast, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put out. I've been interviewing people, but I'm gonna try to put out more stuff on teaching people, about, okay, there's working out, and, but what do I recommend? What have I found that works and what didn't work? And like teaching people like the strength and conditioning side. And then eventually for me, even after I leave the department, I plan on doing like some of that kind of stuff on the side, consulting and like building programs and stuff. Question number 4. That's great and that helps a lot, but what if I have more questions? You can hit me up on Instagram or anything, or email me, any questions, especially when you start to get ready for oral interviews. Just like I said, check me out on the email, or you can DM me or email me and let me know, um, and we can set something up to help you out and get you pointed in the right direction. Even if we set something up out in your area with people that I can get in contact with that'll help you out, and you go to the fire station and do some practice interviews and kind of get in the mix. But yeah, I would do that too. I would go visit the fire station as well and ask them about the Explorer program and see if they got that thing fired up again. I think, you can do it till you're 21. So like when you're 21, then you're done. So, but you got time to do it for a couple years. So that's pretty good. All right. So now it's time for you to do your research, come up with your plan, and get going. Come up with a plan, like start looking at the college to see what you need to register for, what's available. Um, you know, the stuff's pretty interesting when you start going to the classes and learning about it at the college and stuff. So it kind of just keeps building that momentum. But if you ever get discouraged or anything, hit me up um, and there's a lot of other great jobs out there too. But I can definitely help you with this one on the path. Thank you very much. And you too can help to mentor somebody into a career in the fire service by sharing this with anyone who needs direction or encouragement in pursuing a career in the fire service. And you can also check out my resources, ventureathlete.com, and all of the prep and defend training you'll find there. Please share this and like it, and have a great day.